Hello, my very good friend. This is another episode of Android programming from Delaware Studios. This moment we'll be looking at the Android swipe down to refresh list view. Now, you might have noticed that a lot of Android apps like Twitter, Google Plus provides an option to swipe, pull down to refresh its content. Whenever users swipe down from top, a loader will be shown and will disappear once the new content is loaded. You would have been seeing that in some bespoke application. In this tutorial, we are going to learn how to provide the same option to our apps. Previously we've been able to do some things concerning that. So our first step is going to be on our Android swipe refresh layout. Let's go straight to our development environment, which is the Android Studios. Now, this is our Android Studios. I have the project called Swipe App. This is going to let us see the functionality of the swipe down approach that I talked about not quite long. So we're going to first of all implement layout. Implementing swipe refresh layout is very easy. Whenever you want to detect the swipe down on any view, you just wrap the view, the particular view you want the swipe refresh to come up on. You wrap the view around the swipe refresh layout. Let's go to our layout folder. Okay, it's on the layout, the activity main. So in our case, we know we are going to use it with the ListView, and implementing your activity class from swipe refresh layout, calling on refresh listener. Now when user swipes down the view, on refresh method is being called. This will be triggered and you need to take appropriate action in that function, like making an HTTP call or fetch the latest data. This is actually the layout which has the Android support version 4 widget. The swipe refresh layout is specific for the swipe refresh, calling the Android version. Okay, now we're going to create an Android project which is going to have a new project, a blank activity, and most especially I want you to pull you down to the Gradle, the build Gradle section. We have two of it. We have in the project directory. I'll share more light on this. Most importantly, before you compute this kind of application, you need to add this line of code: compile com.mcxiaoke.volley is a volley library. With this, is going to help us call our HTTP easily. Now we are going to use the volley library to call the HTTP data from the server. So we move quickly to our colors. You create a colors XML under the values folder. You itemize the string array. Give it a name called movie serial background, or you can decide to give it any name you feel like. We have up to 6 items with different color codes, which is going to specify, which is going to be picked at random of the list. This is going to actually make our list beautiful with some colors to play around with. So you can decide to use some other color you feel like using on your list view. We will quickly move into some basic folders which we created in the Java directory. You're going to create the helper folder, you're going to create the app folder and you're going to create the activity folder. Under the app folder, let me collapse the helper. Let me expand the app folder. Under the app folder, we have the My Application Java code. You create a class called My Application, which definitely extends the application superclass. You declare some static fields, the string called tag, the request queue, My Application. You create a method called the public void onCreate, which is going to call the superclass, and assign the instance to this particular class. There's a static synchronized My Application, which is going to return, it's not a void, it's going to return a value called the M instance. You're also going to create a request queue method, which is going to check if the request queue is null. If it's null, run this, which is going to call the volley, assign the new request queue, the object, with the parameter, which is going to be a method calling the get application context. After that, you're going to return the request queue, which is the variable holding the volley. We're going to create a generic class called the add to request queue, which is going to have some parameters, the request and also the string. So this is going to call the text utilities. If it's empty, tag. If not, you tag it to the smaller one. You call the get request queue, which you have earlier, the method, and you add the request onto it, which is going to base on the method called the add to request queue. It's going to add it to the stack queue. That's this one list after the other, one list after the other. This one is the next one. This one is the one that follows the next one. That's just what that is trying to enumerate for us. So you create another generic class called the add to request queue, which is similarly doing what we have over there. You create the last class in My Application called the cancel pending request. This is a void. Definitely it's not going to return a value with a parameter object of tag, an if statement right here to check if it's not null. So if it's not null, you carry out this instruction. You cancel all tag. That's just a run of view on what My Application comprises, which is definitely going to import some necessary libraries, which is the volley. Once you've been able to add the volley dependency in your build.gradle, I think I should have it open somewhere here. Once you've been able to add this dependency, definitely in My Application, when you are calling volley, which is this, which is going to help in the HTTP call, the import is going to come up automatically because it's calling an external library. Now, we go straight to our Android menu first, which should be somewhere up there. Our menu first. Alright, this is it here. You add this line of code, which is is a permission telling Android to permit us to use the internet. This is quite important when you are doing HTTP calls, which is actually using the internet to call some data from the server. You add this particular line of code into your menu first. That's quite important. Now let's create a custom adapter class for our ListView in the REST layout folder. There's the REST, the layout. Now we create an XML file called list row. Let's go through what the list row is. It's the relative layout, the layout width, match parent, the layout height, the match parent. We have a text view with an ID, the serial, the width and the height is wrapping around the content. We have a padding of 25 dp, the layout margin of 5 dp, the align parent left, that's true, the text size of 20 dp, and make it bold. Likewise, the text view, which is going to be underneath with an ID, different ID this time called title, because this ID will be called in our Java code. The layout to right of the ID of serial, so it's gonna follow the upper text view. Layout center vertical, the layout width, the wrap content, the layout height, you wrap content as well. The style, you make it bold with a 20 dp pattern left, and the text size. Let's see how the design view is. It's just going to let us see how it's going to look like in our Android machine. Okay, it's actually yet to populate, but they are actually there. If you can feel it, you can see that the list view is actually picking from the text view, which is here the serial, and we have the title. There are two of it right there. That's fine. So we move to our helper folder. You know, we created 3 folders earlier: the activity, the app, and the helper. This is quite different from the main activity of the application, which is the first landing page. Now the helper folder, we're going to create a Java class called movie. This is a simple Java class with a public ID field of integer. You assign ID as the value of the string of the variable, and a string data type. You assign title as the name of the variable. You create a method called public movie. Nothing is there actually. Now this is called a constructor. If you can remember, if you've taken the beginning of Android tutorial, it's an object-oriented course in Java. You should know what a constructor is. And this is a constructor overload, which is actually specifying the 2 parameters, while this has no parameter. This has 2 parameters. Definitely Java will know the particular method we are calling based on the parameter specified. So you assign the title to the title here, which is going to be the title which declared here, and likewise the ID. You assign it to the new ID which will be passed into the parameters to this field. I think that's straightforward. we move straight to the swipe list adapter Java class, which you also create under the helper folder, or the helper. I won't use the word folder. I'll use the word package. It's called a package, not actually a folder. It's under the helper package. We create a Java class called swipe list adapter. This extends the base adapter, which is the super adapter. It extends it, so some of the functionality of the base adapter will be taken into play. We create 4 fields: private activity, the layout inflator, name them activity, inflator, movie list, and there's a string of colors which we actually created in the colors XML, which is right sitting over here. This is the colors XML, and it's an array which will continue to tweak different colors for each list. Now you call the swipe list adapter method with an activity and also a generic object holding movie called movie list. So you assign this activity on to the declared fields. That is going to be a parameter which will be sent into this parameter box and will be assigned to the list views. We have the background colors, which is quite equal to, you now call the activity the get application context method. You get the resources. You are assigning multiple methods. Now you get the string array, passing the array movie serial BG parameter. Keep everything in the BG colors. Now you create a method called the get count. This is going to return a value called the movie list, knowing the size of the movie list. You create another method called get item. This is an object with a parameter called location and an integer, which is also returning a value, the movie list. Now it's going to get the particular location passed in. Create another method called get item ID. This is a long data type this time, which is going to pass an integer position, which is going to return a position as its value. That's where the beauty of the code is being done. You now create a public view to get the view method, which is going to have 3 parameters: position, an integer, the counter view holding from the view method, the view group, which is calling the parent. Now you have an if statement. If the inflator is null, do this. Assign the layout inflator, the activity of the layout inflator. You get the system service, passing a parameter of the context, the layout inflator service. I'll say if the converter is null as well. These are test statements. These are test statements. You declare the inflator. You call the inflate, and the ID of the layout list row, which is from the layout view, which we've actually done. The list row layout view, the list row layout, which is here. You pass a null. Now you are calling the text view we created earlier in the list row. the serial, the title, and you're converting, you're finding an ID which we actually assign to it in the list role XML. Now the serial, you set the text, the value of the movie list by getting the position which is going to be on the list, and also the title of the movie list which will be written in each list view. You call the color to it, which will be picked at random from the arrays of colors we have, and you set a background color also. Now you return a value called the convert view. I think that is quite interesting. I'd like you to go through the code, digest it and use it, try to understand it, drop some comments below in my YouTube. Let me see where you're facing some challenges so that I'll be able to fix up some things for you there. You can also get the source code from my GitHub account, which I'll be populating it into there. So you can download it, use it as you wish. Now, we are going to our activity main, which is the default activity in which we use our swipe refresh layout. So just look at it. This is very important. The support version 4 widget, swipe refresh layout, is very important. So finally, we open our default main activity. This is where we do a lot of HTTP call and some other things. We have the onCreate bundle service instance. We should be familiar with that now. Now our content view is going to be the layout, the activity.main, which have the extension of the swipe refresh layout. The list view, called it. We have an ID of the list view, which is also coming from the list row. So the swipe refresh layout widget, we find the ID called the swipe refresh layout from the activity main. We have a movie list, we declare a new array list for that. An adapter, we declare a swipe list adapter using this particular movie list. Now the list view is calling the set adapter, passing an adapter as a parameter. So we use our swipe refresh layout and set the onRefresh listener, passing this particular class or method. So we're showing swipe refresh animation on activity create, the rolling animation. Once you pull down, the rolling animation comes up, trying to call the HTTP, pending when the HTTP is just being called. It's just like an interface, tweaking the UI of Android. Instead of just pressing a button called refresh and looking at a very boring layout, the swipe pull refresh will give you a sort of rolling animation when the HTTP call is actually being done. So this is actually the animation of the swipe refresh layout. You set the refreshing to true. This must be set to true. So you now fetch the movies method, which is being declared over here. So once the pull is being done, it calls the method fetch movies. And there is a refresh method also on that, on the fresh movies. So the main method now is the fetch movies, which is doing the call of the JSON file. So the swipe refresh layout is going to keep refreshing, which is true. We have a string URL, which is going to call the URL top 250 plus the offset. We are trying to append some offset to the URL. It's going to be the URL of the HTTP call. So now volley is at work. Volley's JSON array request object. The JSON array request is going to create a new class of a new object of the JSON array request, which is going to have this value req, call a response, put an arrow tag. The tag the response to the tool string, you convert that to tool string, convert the array to string. Now, an if statement. If the response declared here and the length method is greater than 0, do this. Do a for loop with an integer starting a counter integer from 0, I, and the I is less than the response, calling the length and an increment of 1. There's a try and catch, which is going to like if there's an exception. So if the JSON object giving it an object value of movie object, an integer the rank, the movie object, you get the int, the rank is being passed into that. Also the string, the movie object is going to get the string, the title. Now the object of movie is being created with M, which is going to pass 2 parameters, the rank and the title. The movie list now add 0 to the M object created. The short if statement is in between the try statement and the try. That's if the rank is greater than or equals to the offset, let the offset be equals to the rank. Do not catch the exception. If there's any error whatsoever, send a message. Probably there's a JSON error or there's a passing error or something. Now the adapter notify the data set and change it. So you now stop the swipe refresh after all these calls. All these calls have been made. So if there's an error, like a server error, you complete it out through a toast message, giving the length, and you show it up to the UI so that the viewers or the users can see what is actually happening. Probably there's an internet issue, or there is a server issue, or something as indirect, the refresh to come up or to come to play. Now you're going to add a request to request queue, so that there must be a queue for each ListView. The application, the get distance. I've actually tested this on a real device, which I will want you to do as well. But I will look at my journey motion. If my journey motion is going to populate it perfectly the way I really want. But I have the source code also in my GitHub account. You guys can pick it up, you guys can use it, you guys can tweak it, you can get the best out of it, and send me some comments if there's any issues you want me to tackle on it. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more of the Android tutorials, which are yet to come. They're coming in mass. I'm bringing up massively. I'm working more on Android. The material, the Facebook login, the YouTube implementation. A lot of tutorials are coming up on Android, but this is just the way to encourage me by subscribing to my channel. But I'll continue to put more effort into this and get it right there for you, my good friends. Let's see what journey motion is going to populate in terms of this application, because it's not a touch screen effect, because we will need to use our hands to pull down. But let's see if it will actually be usable with journey motion, because that's the emulator that I use with Android Studios. It's quite fast. I have a tutorial on how to configure journey motion into Android Studios. It's quite interesting. It's a good emulator. You can pick it up. It has a lot of functionalities you can use. Test your application. It's just a real Android device in your system. So let's be patient and let's build up the code and populate it in our emulator to see how the applications really sits. Alright, it has been built successfully. Now I'll pick a journey motion, which is the running device at the moment. So let me call up my journey motion to the top screen. So we could be able to see once the application launches in journey motion. All right, that's it. You can see the rolling effect, of the refresh. That is just the swipe refresh. You can see it moving. I need to pull down. Okay, it comes up again. Fine. Can you see the list view out there with different colors? Fine. This is perfect. This is perfect on journey motion. I was thinking I never tested it on it. I tested it on my device. So, but it is perfect. I will just see a scroll through. I want you to keep tag on something. There's a list view with different colors. This application can be moved further. This can serve as different pictures. So it depends on how you really want to, build the kind of application you really want to build on. But this is a good framework. It's been itemized from 1 with different colors of the array we set earlier on, up to with different title of the movies, up to 20. Now, if you want to call, because we have over 250 lists of movies titled in our server, and I want to get the next 20, I pull down, it comes up, the refresh list comes up and tries to call the next 20, which is in the queue. Can you see that? This is the next 20, making it 40. The list itself, that's why the numbers will actually let you know that is it calling or is just doing the same refresh. You can see that's done the next 20, which gets to 40. That's cool. Pick up the source code from my GitHub account, and please, I'm begging you, my good friends, subscribe to my channels for more and more elaborate tutorials on Android. I'm here for you, and I'm committed to give you guys the best Android experience programming tutorial. Thanks very much for listening and watching. I'll see you some other time. Thank you.